Right, guys, mechanism creation time. This is going to be the one where I drop a lot of sauce and we're going to be identifying a new mechanism and actually applying it to the product. Now, before we actually go into creating the mechanism, and I've got a fucking sick prompt that I'm going to share with you all. First of all, you need to analyze like whereabouts is your market at and what's your competitors actually doing. Now, again, like reverting back to this graph. Now we're going to be operating between level 3 and 4 sophistication. And you can see level 3 is the new mechanism. So you're literally just bringing like a new mechanism onto the market that is basically building new hope. And level 4 is when the market starts to get really saturated. All of your competitors are running mechanisms. And your job is to start building on that core mechanism of the product. Like what actually makes your product different to all of the other identical ones on the market. Now, the great example that I shared with you in the last video was BioRoot Labs. So turmeric supplements, very, very popular, have been around for a long, long time, but they have black pepper extract and an MCT oil as well. So although they're leading with like the mechanism, or you could say that the level 3 mechanism is how it has curcumin in the capsule that helps penetrate the joints, etc., and relieves pain. Once that mechanism becomes burnt out, it's then moving into a level 4 mechanism. Now, at this stage as well, you should have done all of your research. So you should have context files as well. They're going to come in use when we run this prompt. But first of all, like before I actually like to dive into creating the mechanisms, I like to look at where the competitors' messaging actually sits and what they're pushing as their mechanism. And that's also going to give you a good idea of how sophisticated the market currently is and sort of where you need to position your messaging. Now, if we come back to Cyproglow, which is the brand that we initially started doing research on and the product that we're using as an example here. If we come and look at their ad library, like this is the first place that I always like to start. It'll be the ad library and also going on to AdSpy and looking at their top spending ads, looking at the ads that have the most engagement, have the most shares as well. Typically, the ones with the most shares, they're going to be their top of funnel ads, the ones that are actually driving new customer acquisition into the brand. Now, if we use Ad Library for an example, so we'll pick out this one here. I started watching this one just before I hit record. And just to give you some context, now, if we come back here, Cyproglow for this product, they are around about a level 3 mechanism. Now, if we look deeper into why they're scaling with a level 3 mechanism, if we come and actually look at the Google Trends, and again, this is a great free tool that you should be using. It really helps you get an understanding of where the market is at. Now, if we type in Cypress rotundus oil, you can see that this is a new product. By new, it's pretty much only started trending within the last year, I would say. And you can see even in the last 6 months, this has had a massive, massive uptrend. Now, this is essentially, this product in itself, this ingredient here, Cyperus rotundus, is like a plant. It's extracted from a plant. That in itself is almost like a mechanism into the hair reduction market, because traditional solutions are like razors, using lasers, IPLs, etc. So actually using this ingredient is almost like a level 3 mechanism, because you're reinstating hope into the market for people who have had, low success rate with laser, or they've had side effects, they've been burnt, etc., etc. And you're going to see that in their ads. So let's look at this and notice how this is just a level 3 mechanism.
You done with plucking facial hair every single day? There's a reason it keeps coming back thicker, and most removal methods never address it. The real issue is follicle sensitivity to hormones.
So this is the introduction to the mechanism. It's explaining why all of these previous solutions or current solutions aren't actually effective.
Follicles overreact to androgens, hair grows back darker and coarser over time. Plucking, shaving, and waxing only treat the surface. They never solve why it's happening in the first place. Cyperus rotundus is an Egyptian plant extract used for centuries to...
And that's the introduction to the mechanism. It's literally just essentially the product, which is the main active ingredient.
Calm follicle sensitivity. It works by reducing how follicles respond to growth hormones. This addresses the root cause instead of just removing hair temporarily. This is what would happen if a woman...
So it's essentially like saying that curcumin in a turmeric supplement is the mechanism. But now if we come back and if we type in turmeric curcumin and look at the difference in the graph. So we already know that this is a sophisticated market because it's been a growing market for such a long time. You know, if we type in at the end of this as well, supplement. So this isn't new information. This product here, this is almost new information, which can be positioned as a new mechanism. Whereas if we look at a market that has already been burnt out, this is when you then need to step into a level 4 mechanism, which is what Bioroot Labs have actually done. So you're engineering the existing core mechanism. How can you make it more effective versus all of the other identical products on the market that are making the same mechanism claim as you are? Now, although this product here is on a massive uptrend recently, and right now I would say you can get away with a level 3 mechanism. If we look at the current volume that's being pushed into this product, you can see the Amazon volume here. So on Amazon, 10K bought within the last month. On this listing, another brand, 10K bought within the last month, 4K bought within the last month. You know, there's a lot of volume starting to go into this, which of course is also attributing to the massive upspike that we're seeing. If we look at it on Calodata, you can actually see in the last 30 days, this product alone has done 1.2 million. So fucking insane. So this is slowly going to start moving up because the market saturation, so this blue line here is essentially the market saturation in the competition. This is starting to get more and more saturated. So we're starting to move past level 3 up into level 4. So if I was launching this as a product test, there definitely still is room to just come in with essentially very, very similar messaging to what CyperGlow are doing, because you still have a very, very large TAM. But it's going to come to a point where that generic mechanism will die out, or CyperGlow will start to improve on their mechanism and start to move into a level 4 mechanism, which is going to essentially get them one leg up against all of the other competitors that are now coming into the market. So that's kind of like how I like to look at this. And in this scenario, like I would be going pretty much straight into a level 4 mechanism to try and compete with these guys, because these guys are already at a decent level of scale. And you always need to try and find leverage. Like, where is the leverage in the product test that you're going to go ahead and conduct? Like, your leverage here could be expanding on the mechanism that's already working. Now, it doesn't mean that all of my ads will be focused on like a level 4 mechanism, because there'll still be creatives and concepts that I make where I don't dive too deep into the actual like level 4 mechanism, and I keep it a little bit more broad. And it's more like level 3, where we're just introducing this ingredient, this product to the market, and talking about how it actually works, the science behind it, how it actually, you know, blocks DHT, how it actually gets down to the bulb of the follicle to essentially slow regrowth for the long term. But let's actually put this into practice. And how do you actually go ahead and build out the mechanism? So as I mentioned, you should have been through all of your research. You should have your deep research document. You should have your like raw research. The more you have, the better output you're going to get from this prompt. Now, I've been really generous too, guys. I have given you the prompt that you can literally just copy and paste. Multiple different products. I use it on all of the brands that I run as well. And the output, 9 times out of 10, is always very, very strong. Now, of course, like, don't be a lazy fuck. Sometimes you will have to do some additional prompting. Sometimes you will have to do more additional research into the mechanism as well. But this is going to do pretty much all of the heavy lifting for you. Now, you're going to want to upload all of the context files, as I've said here, and just use the LLM of your choice, depending on what's actually the best LLM at the time of watching this video. Right now, I'm going to be using Claude. I'm also using a lot of Gemini right now as well. So we're going to absolutely just run through this from A to Z. You're going to see how I actually run this prompt. And then most importantly, we're going to look at the output, and then we're going to identify what mechanism that we're actually going to put onto this product. So let's go ahead and do this real quick. So you can just copy and paste this and come over to Claude. Now, for the sake of this example, if it's you guys who are running this prompt, then I would encourage you to obviously put in the product URL. I'm not going to do that on this example because I don't want it to just like copy the information that CyberGlow, the competitor, are already leading with. I want it to almost treat this as like a brand new product that we need a mechanism for, because you can see here, like they do say things like, it targets hair follicles through localized androgen blocking. Active compounds that inhibit the 5A reductase enzyme and block androgen receptors directly at the follicle level, reducing THT production. So I kind of want the prompt to find that information itself, as opposed to just giving them it through this URL. So what we are going to do is I will use an Amazon listing instead. So just quickly input the information. So product name and category, we're going to do hair reduction, and then product URL, I am literally just going to take this Amazon URL. Okay, and then additional context. So this will just be all of your files that you've got. So just do attached. Now, in regards to the actual files, if I pull them up real quick, what I would encourage you to upload is as much as you've got. So download this, where is it? Download mechanism. Yeah. Download this. Upload this as one of your context files. So I'm just going to do that right now. And then you're going to want to upload all of your raw research that you've done. And then you're going to want to also upload your deep research. And then that's pretty much it. So once you've got all of that in and you've inputted your product name, category, product URL, which will be your PDP, and then additional context, the files attached. Files are attached. Enter that and then just let Claude cook. Usually takes about 5 minutes. So we'll come back once we have the output ready. Okay, so we've just got this back from Claude and we've got this really good document now. So mechanism engineering framework, Cyperus rhoterus oil for hair reduction, stage 3 to 4 sophistication market analysis. So let's have a skim through this. So this framework addresses level 4 mechanism war, where the audience already tried the main ingredient, Cyperus rhoterus. Okay, let's read the task one. So the failure profile. So this is more so like when they're at stage 3, which is where CyberGlow are mainly operating at right now. So the burns customer has already tried the old way and failed. Shaving provides 2 to 8 hours of smoothness, results in stubble, shadow, and irritation, requires daily maintenance that feels like a second job. Waxing and threading requires growing out hair, 1/4 of an inch minimum, causes burns, rashes, ingrown hairs. Waxing means I have to grow a 1/2 inch beard. Laser hair removal, expensive, $1,000 for treatment courses, doesn't work on light/white hair. Can trigger hair growth in hormonal cases. After $1,000 in treatments, completely unsuccessful. And you can start to see how this is actually pulling a lot of this from the raw research that we've done on Reddit. So super powerful. Prescription creams, expensive, $150 per tube. Requires a prescription. It doesn't work for everyone. Metformin did absolutely nothing for me, even at 2 grams a day. I actually remember pulling that out of the research. Customer state. These women are exhausted, skeptical, and have developed the belief loop that nothing works for me. I've tried everything. They've spent hundreds to thousands of dollars and countless hours, yet they keep searching because the daily visibility of the problem won't let them forget. So you've got to remember, if you think back to the sophistication lesson and also like the awareness lesson that I did as well, which if you haven't watched, to go back and watch, you're going to have different customers that are at different stages of sophistication and also awareness. So we will still create ads that are going to speak directly to people who are at stage 3, which is what CyberGlow are doing. But then as this market is starting to become more saturated, just having a standard mechanism like what's about to go into isn't going to be sufficient enough, because we're going to have more people at stage 4 awareness, and that's where we actually need to start engineering our existing mechanism. So let's continue to work through this. The blockage, the physical barrier that stops standard methods from working, shaving and waxing only removes hair above or at skin level, does nothing to the follicle, the growth cycle continues uninterrupted, and laser, it targets pigment, melanin, not the growth mechanism, and generic inhibitors, doesn't work on light white / blonde hair, cannot treat hormonal hair because it doesn't address the DHT pathway. The active compounds sit on the skin surface without a proper carrier system. They evaporate before reaching the follicle. The ingredient is present but cannot access the target. So the root problem, hormonal hair growth, especially PCOS related, is driven by androgens at the follicle level. Now you can see I've not even put in CyberGlow's product page or their URL, but if we revert back to this, this is starting to, Claude has already started to catch on to the mechanism that they're actually leading with at the minute, which is blocking androgens. And DHT is a signal that activates hair growth. Standard removal methods never touch this pathway. They address systems, not the cause. So it's essentially going down the sort of like mechanism route of it, actually gets to the root cause of it. It blocks DHT. It gets down into the follicle pathways because it's this new mechanism, aka new ingredient of Cyperus rotundus oil. Cyperus rotundus works through enzyme inhibition, not hair removal. This is kind of like the stage 3 mechanism. Flavonoids in Cyperus rotundus block the 5A reductase enzyme that converts testosterone to DHT. Less DHT means weaker growth signals to the follicle. Androgen receptor blocking. The oil's compounds also block androgen receptors directly at the follicle, preventing whatever DHT remains from activating hair growth. Progressive weakening. With reduced growth signals over time, the follicle produces progressively finer, lighter, slower growing hair. So you can see already how this prompt is doing an amazing job, because we're looking at CyberGlow who are already scaling super, super aggressively. And just by this prompt and without giving them any context on their current mechanism, just based off all of our research and putting in this Amazon listing right now, we've pretty much already got the same exact prompt that they're currently scaling with, which is a really good sign. So this is almost like our stage 3 mechanism here. So we will lead with this, and I will still create ads using this mechanism. But then, as I said, we're going to start seeing a lot more people move into stage 4. And this is when you need to have a support mechanism. So it's not always about completely recreating the whole mechanism. It's taking the existing mechanism and then adding to it as well. So the support mechanism, which is our stage 4 mode, why this specific version is superior to identical competitors selling the same thing. And this is where you're going to get a lot of sauce. This is a brand new product, as we have already identified. But if you're going into more competitive products, ones that are already have been scaled numerous times from loads of different brands, and they follow more of a pattern to this is when your stage 4 mechanism is going to be like a really core focus for you. So let's see what it's cooked for us. So the structural key, the specific carrier, catalyst, or process that activates the product. So primary key. Okay, so you can see now it's already, jojoba oil carrier system. So this is good. So it's already analyzed the ingredients. So let's see, where's the ingredients? Okay, here. So it's locked onto this ingredient here, jojoba oil. And you can see it's actually pulled out real research as well. So again, you're not just making this up, like this is actually validated. A 1985 study demonstrated that jojoba oil doesn't just coat the skin, it collects in a pool within the hair follicle and penetrates down the corneal layer. Jojoba is a liquid wax ester structurally similar to human sebum, allowing it to dissolve sebum deposits and carry active compounds directly into the follicle. This is absolute gold. Supporting components, you have this ingredient here, which looks like it's a type of peptide, which again, huge trend right now. Peptides, small molecule size, allows target penetration to hair follicles, strengthens follicles. Rosehip oil promotes skin. So this is kind of going into other ingredients as well, which this is good. This is still really good to know. If you think of the ad example that we looked at from Ankway, the mushroom gummy brand, it started to actually break down the ingredients and what they actually do and what they address and treat. So we can still do that. This is going to be what looks like our main mechanism, which is having a carrier oil, which is jojoba oil. But then we can still mention these within our scripts. We can still mention it contains rosehip oil, which promotes skin renewal and evens tone, addressing hyperpigmentation from previous removal methods. And if you think back into our raw research, a lot of people on Reddit were saying that when they're doing things like laser hair removal, one of the side effects was actually dark spots and hyperpigmentation. So again, like if we were to go after that angle and that sort of avatar, then we are going to lead more with the rosehip oil because that's addressing one of their key concerns. And then we've got sweet almond milk. Yeah, it's going into some other benefits as well. The engineering attributes, so absorption/delivery, though jojoba carrier system delivers active compounds directly into the hair follicle, not just onto the skin surface. This is the critical difference. The ingredient reaches its biological target. Speed, visible results reported in 1 to 2 weeks. Soft or slower regrowth, full results in 4 to 6 weeks. Generic oils without carrier systems may take months with inconsistent results. Potency, concentrated Cyperus rotundus seed oil, not diluted extract, combined with tripeptide support compounds that enhance follicle level activity and androgen flow. Okay, so this again, this is good. Why generic versions are actually outdated, diluted, or inefficient. So now we're almost doing like the comparison of our products, so our serum versus others that are on the market, and how can we make ours stand out through the mechanism that we're using. So most Cyperus rotundus oils on the market are raw extract without a delivery system. The active compounds evaporate on the skin surface before reaching the follicle, diluted with cheap filler oils, reducing concentration below the therapeutic levels, missing the carrier bridge without jojoba's follicle penetrating properties. The active ingredient cannot access its target, no support compounds, lacking peptides and botanical compounds that enhance absorption and soothe irritation. Result, the customer buys a product containing the right ingredient, sees no results, and concludes Cyperus rotundus doesn't work for me, when the real problem was never actually reaching the follicle. So this is good. So our level 4 mechanism is essentially going to be using our jojoba oil as almost like a carrier oil as well. Now, at this stage, this is when I'll go ahead and do a little bit more research. So, don't overthink the prompts too much, but I might just say, do some additional research on how jojoba oil increases the effectiveness of reducing hair growth, especially when used in Cyperus rotundus oil products. And again, this is just going to give you like a much better understanding of the mechanism and also further validate that it's actually a mechanism that is true and that it's going to be a good one to actually run with. Okay, so just doing a little bit more of a deep dive into using this as like a supporting mechanism. You can see here, jojoba oil has been shown in studies to enhance penetration of active compounds by up to 40-fold, depending on the molecule. Jojoba's follicular penetration has been documented, blah, blah, blah. And then up here, it's essentially saying generic cyperus oils without this delivery system would have the active compounds sitting on the skin surface, unable to reach the enzyme activity happening inside the follicle. Now, what is also interesting is whilst I was just waiting on Claude, what I actually found was this right here. So if we type in this and then we come into this Reddit thread, now it's basically saying, let me see where it is. So we actually want to go here. I started mixing a few drops of Cyperus rotundus oil with my regular carrier oil, jojoba. So that is someone who is definitely like level 4 sophistication. Like they're actually having to buy their carrier oil separate. So they're actually manually having to mix them. And then there's also another comment down here. So here's another one. I mix mine with oils and carrier oils. So that's someone else mixing it with a carrier oil. So yeah, you can see there were some people on Reddit there who are actually using carrier oils and buying them separately. So definitely does show that carrier oils are important with this type of product. So the fact that you can actually include a carrier oil like jojoba oil in the existing formulation is going to be a big moat and a mechanism that you can really lean into, like Bioroot Labs did with their black pepper extract. And again, jojoba oil, like really well known, trusted ingredient as well. So it's not like it's a brand new ingredient that needs a lot of education around. If you look at 47 Skins example, they were using that silver chitodarn ingredient. You know, people hear that and it doesn't really resonate with them. They've not heard of the ingredient before. So that will just naturally increase skepticism. Whereas when you're using like a really popular product like this or ingredient like this, you know, it builds in even more trust. And again, using Bioroot Labs as an example, you know, black seed extract, again, like that will be, let's have a look. That would be like another popular ingredient, which you can see it is. So that's how I would approach this. Again, like really, really powerful prompt for you to use. And it means that if you're coming into what is like a saturated market, is really going to help you build out a moat and actually come in with a strong mechanism. And what you'll notice is that, we've not given it again some like scientific fluffy name or like made up this just bullshit scientific term. It's actually logical. They can understand it. If they want to, they can go ahead and do additional research on it as well and see the benefits of it. And once you start getting into a highly sophisticated market, this is really going to help you scale. And as I said, you want to still tap into level 3 as well, because not all of the market that you're going to be showing your ads to on Meta are going to be at that level 4 sophistication yet. So it's important to build your creatives to kind of meet everyone at different points. But this mechanism lesson, honestly, guys, going to help a lot of you scale. And I bet there's a lot of you guys who are watching who haven't even implemented any sort of mechanism yet. So get all of your research docs together, get everything organized, run this prompt, and just start utilizing this. And it's going to pay off massively.